bringing all those people together as well. So not just individuals, but then bringing the community together. And, another aspect of that's even another layer. I have an ecology background. So I found myself in public administration as really seeing all of these connection points, basically. And if you tug one side, then you pull another side. And so, another thing, the power of protection, the power of preserving. We have a whole other element, and many park systems do have some element of permanent protection within their communities of lands and spaces, and preserving, areas for recharge.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series, hosted by Craig LeBlanc, founder of DPRS Media Network, where we spotlight the visionary leaders shaping the future of parks and recreation. In this episode, we're joined by Beth Powell, Parks, Recreation, and Conservation Director for Indian River County, Florida. Discover how strong leadership, adaptability, and community partnerships help parks professionals turn unexpected challenges into meaningful opportunities. From managing over 24 miles of beautiful coastline to creating memorable community experiences and navigating today's funding realities, Beth shares valuable insights every parks and recreation leader can learn from. Stay with us for an inspiring conversation on leadership, innovation, and the lasting impact of parks and recreation. Let's dive in. All right, we are live again. This is Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Parks and Rec Show, DPRS Media Network. This is the Leadership Series, Monday through Thursday, 12 noon Eastern Time. I have another beach girl from the great state of California. I can't believe 2 weeks in a row, Beth has over 24 miles of beachfront property in Florida that they are a part of through their Parks and Rec department. She is with Indian River County, Vero Beach, Florida. And we have an awesome topic for y'all today. And just by timing, tomorrow we're doing an early morning episode about some of the tax issues that some counties and cities face all the time about potentially losing their tax revenue. And there's you may have heard about some of that drama going on in Florida. And so we're doing a show tomorrow with Leon Pros Consulting and Carlos. But this is a topic that Beth is also passionate about. So we'll get to talk about that as much as she can. I know it's a very delicate subject. But before we get started, I wanted to encourage everybody to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. This is a big push that the whole team of content creators, for those that don't know, it used to be just me and Leadership Series and highlighting Parks and Rec directors and leaders in the community. Fast forward to today, by the end of this month, it looks like we may have we picked up another show. We'll have 22 weekly and daily shows all talking about the Parks and Rec industry and all the different parks about it, whether it's aquatics or facilities maintenance or arts and Parks and Rec or rec sports, Aaron Locke show, the U Sports Mastery show. I mean, we have just got so much great content, all for the industry of parks and recreation. And all of this can be found on our YouTube channel, which we did not do a great job of promoting in the early days. We were kind of born on Facebook and LinkedIn. But now we have a lot of people looking for our old content, and we're like, it's on our YouTube channel. And a lot of people don't even realize we have a YouTube channel. Even though we have, I think, almost 250,000 subscribers on all our other social media platforms. We only have like 650 subscribers on YouTube. But once we get above 1,000 subscribers, then we can go live on YouTube. Because right now you're probably watching this live on X, on LinkedIn, or on Facebook. But our entire content library and a lot of our content is great continuing education content. Especially a great example is the Aquatics Live Show. If you have an aquatics center and you have aquatics professionals, go find our playlist for the Aquatics Live Show on our YouTube channel and just press play. You can use this as continuing education for all your aquatics professionals. Wesley does a great job producing evergreen content that is relevant and valuable. It's free. It'll be great training for your aquatic staff. And a lot of our shows are kind of built that way. Go ahead and pop up our TV guide. This one is obviously dated because now we have, I think there's only 11 logos I see up there. By the end of this month, you should see 22 logos. We are now shifting some of the show times. This is still going to be a 12 noon show time. We're moving a lot of our 1:30 start times to 1. So all of our shows, probably by September 1st, I think. We were going to try to do it in August, but I don't know if we can pull that off. So all of our shows are going to start on the hour. So this is still going to be at 12 noon, highlighting leaders in Parks and Rec, along with Papa Jay out in California, helping me out on Fridays. Then the rest of our shows are going to move from 1:30 to 1. Then we're going to have something where we highlight a lot of our show sponsors and vendor community and the work they're doing at 2 p.m. And then we've got a 3 p.m. and a 5 p.m. time slot, which is almost completely booked 5 days a week. So it's just amazing the growth that the media network is seeing. And literally that's a reflection of the love and support that we're getting from the Parks and Rec community. So I really appreciate everybody's help and support. And thanks for subscribing and following all the work that we do and trying to get the word out about Parks and Recreation, so that this is no longer the best kept secret in America. It is a secret. It is a well-known industry. And hopefully we can highlight this as a career path to a lot of young kids who are really unaware that Parks and Rec is such a great career path that you can dedicate your life to. All right. With all that being said, let's go ahead and run our transition. We got a couple of shows we want to promote. And then when we come right back, we're going to have a great conversation with Beth Powell over in Vero Beach, Florida.
The future of Parks and Recreation isn't coming, it's already here. Across communities everywhere, technology is transforming how parks connect, engage, and serve the people who rely on them. From smart amenities and connected infrastructure to real-time data and innovative solutions, a new generation of parks is taking shape. Welcome to Smart Parks Forward, presented by DPRS Media Network and co-produced by Outdoor Link. Each episode brings you the leaders, innovators, and visionaries driving the future of parks and recreation. Discover groundbreaking ideas, real-world success stories, and the technologies helping agencies create safer, smarter, and more connected communities. Because great parks don't just improve spaces, they improve lives. The future is connected. The future is intelligent. The future is now. This is Smart Parks Forward.
All right, Beth, welcome to the show. How was y'all's 4th of July celebration? I wanted you to kind of tell everybody about y'all's, what you had told me when we were off screen.
Yeah. Hi, Craig. Thanks so much. I'm so glad to be here. So normally our cities, municipalities do our parades if they have one during July 4th. So it's almost for our county. I work for Indian River County. And a lot of times this is sort of our break, if you will, before we're right in summer athletics. And so this year, because of the 250-year celebration, our cities reached out and asked us to participate in and have floats in the parades, not just one, but two. So we teamed up with our facilities division and worked with them on building one of the floats. And then our parks team took the other float and ran with it. And we had a friendly competition, which was lots of fun. We had my team and another person's team. And so it's like, do you want to be on the Vero team or the Sebastian team? And we ended up having a really great day. I mean, it was kind of out of the blue for us. And it's like, oh, we need a float. And it's like, oh, we don't need one float. We need two floats. So anyway, we had a great time. I mean, that's the beauty of Parks and Recreation professionals. We're so adapted to unexpected events. Yeah. We're adapted to helping and stepping in and taking the lead and running with it. and also partnering and making sure that everybody feels involved and included, and really thinking about the big picture. How did we want to represent Indian River County to all of the spectators, especially for an event that we had never done before? So that's just the beauty of Parks and Rec. We really, the outreach to the community, we touch people's lives every single day, and it can be in small ways like that, or it can be in really large ways by changing people's lives in their health or well-being, or whatever aspect that they're coming to us for. So
yeah, and that's one thing I think this industry is famous for. Probably every Parks and Rec staffer's nodding their head saying, yep, they throw the most random stuff at us and say, give us a deadline of like 2 days to pull something off that we've never done before, and y'all just do it with a smile, week in, week out.
That's right. I mean, I think sometimes I kind of liken us to peanut butter and a peanut butter jelly sandwich. I'm not sure who the jelly is, but peanut butter is, in the middle of the bread. And so we have our internal service departments that we have to comply with, regulations, rules, policy, et cetera, that are oftentimes very formal, codes, et cetera. And then we also have to be the Amazon / McDonald's or Chick-fil-A / bring it tomorrow, bring it good. I want high quality. So we interact with both the public, but also our internal service departments. And there's a very delicate line walking that, and it can be a lot of stress, but it can also be a lot of fun because we get to see the people who we're changing their lives, or we're impacting their lives on a day-to-day basis. And so it's sometimes a double-edged sword, but one that we probably and gladly take on, I think, every day in the work that we do.
Yeah, I love those analogies. It's almost, it reminds me back, kind of like a restaurant. You've got the chaos of the kitchen, the back of house, they call it, where you just see all the sausage being made. But then when it comes out the kitchen, it's beautiful, it's presented, it's a gorgeous plate of food, and it's a great experience. And that's what Parks and Rec does, is provide polished, high quality experiences for their community. And they really don't even see all the chaos it took to pull that off.
Yeah. And, let me just jump in real quick and say that that is the theme for this year from National Recreation Parks Association, is the power of. And I've really been excited about that because it's giving us a voice to express all the different aspects that we interact with in terms of people's lives, but also the delicate balance of what we do. Because you have, as a leader in my organization, there's power to influence decisions and not just be a passive observer, right? We're very involved in local governance. We're involved in changing our own code or affecting people's lives in like real tangible ways. And so the power of, I felt like just really, I loved back years ago, we did It Starts in Parks, and people are still using that all over the state, and the nation probably. But for us, I really love the power of so I can express that community, empathy, well-being or health. And it just touches so many aspects of our lives. It's one of probably the rare professions where you get to work with everybody from an infant to toddler stage to their end of their life. And what other profession do you touch an entire lifespan of a person? And Parks and Rec does every day. So,
and not just the lifespan of a person, but all the demographics. Like the new people, brand new to a community, that are looking to just connect and meet their new community. Parks and Rec and all the events and festivals and programs are a great place to do that. But then also like the single moms that need help with after school care, all the way to rec sports. I mean, it really covers. And I think the culture of this industry does a great job of saying, who are we leaving out? Who do we have in our community that we offer nothing for, and how can we serve them? And so they're always looking at making sure everybody has something they can do to participate.
That's right. And also bringing all those people together as well. So not just individuals, but then bringing the community together. And, another aspect of that's even another layer. I have an ecology background. So I found myself in public administration as really seeing all of these connection points, basically. And if you tug one side, then you pull another side. And so, another thing, the power of protection, the power of preserving. So for me, in particular, Parks, Recreation, and Conservation, we have a whole other element. And many park systems do have some element of permanent protection within their communities of lands and spaces, and preserving, areas for recharge, aquifer recharge, et cetera. So it extends, and there's so many layers to it. Sometimes, people ask what I do, and it's a hard answer to put into a couple sentences.
Yeah.
Because it's worth explaining, and it's worth, pulling out all the detail and all the different layers there, because it's not very surface level. There's a lot of depth to it, which is why I love it so much.
Yeah. When you were talking, it reminded me of a conversation I had with one of our previous guests, and he said, I see myself in charge of connecting my community. They get to meet each other in the programs and the festivals that we offer. And the example he gave, he said, we have a farmer's market, and once a month, that every week, but once a month, that farmer's market opens up to the arts community. And he said, many of these artists, they have no place to showcase their artwork, but they'll give them a little tent and a little booth, and they get discovered for the first time. And many of them attribute their studio in their downtown going all the way back to just their little table once a month. And they got discovered by their patrons that now buy their artwork from them. And all this kind of started on a simple little Parks and Rec farmers market as a great example of how they connect the community.
That's right. 100%. We see that all the time. And it's funny because it is the fuel that it causes us to want to expand further and deeper into the community and really ask ourselves, what is it that we're doing that is reaching the most amount of people on the minimum amount of money?
Right.
so it's a fun, delicate balance that we play in, local governments all the time. And for Parks and Recreation, we have the benefit of really seeing that tangible result. It could be the smile on a child. It could be a handshake. It could be that feedback you're getting from a senior attending a wellness visit or a class that says, you don't understand how much this has changed my life. So, the reward is there. And I think we have an opportunity to feel really blessed by being in direct contact with the people that we're serving.
Yeah. Well, that kind of brings us to our topic of today. We were going to talk about funding and money and taxes and all that kind of great stuff. And for those that aren't aware, Florida is potentially, maybe, hopefully not, but they may get to where they lose their property tax. And a lot of people, they're like, well, the benefit is a lot of more people Florida will be more attractive for businesses and people to move in, but there's always a give and take. And one of the losses is that all these Parks and Rec departments could lose a major source of funding. And a lot of Parks and Rec people in Florida are now scrambling to really understand where their money comes from and where are the other potential ways that we can still fund healthy, thriving Parks and Rec departments. And I know everyone I've spoken to in Florida is like slightly panicked here. So maybe you can describe it. And I know it's a delicate subject, so only talk about, we don't want to get anybody in trouble, but maybe you can explain to the rest of the country what's going on in Florida. And I think, would y'all, if this does pass, would y'all be the first state that kind of strips this away and then has to deal with this as a state?
No, I don't think so. I think there's other models. Attending the Florida Association of Counties conference 2 weeks ago, every time that I go to that conference, I learned that every county has its own personality. It has its own citizenry, that they have to meet those specific needs. They have their own geography. They have their own tax base. It's all very diverse. So it's like having a family reunion with lots of cousins.
Right.
We all have sort of the single founding father in a way.
Yeah.
But and that's the beauty and flexibility of local government. It's designed to be very specific to the community that it's serving. And I love that. That's why I'm so passionate about local government, particularly because we do have that direct impact, and it's very customized to the community, and it's approved by the community. Our taxes, the millage rate, all of these things are approved through a very meticulous system, if you will. And part of what's happening right now in Florida is a measure that will be on a tax bill that's going to be on the voter referendum in November. So just very factually, no opinions there. And every county will be affected differently. Again, there's some really great resources out there, but I think from the standpoint of a Parks and Recreation professional, that's not something you can respond to quickly. And when I say quickly, like less than a year, I mean, I'm talking like you've got to really prepare yourself as a Parks and Recreation professional from the ground up, start small, understand your budget. How are you funded? What sources of revenue are coming in? And every county is different. So I could tell you how our county is structured, but it's going to be very different from another county. And that's all because you have laws and ordinances and policies that drive and customize the criteria to meet the needs of the residents and your visitors and to drive the economy. So it's a beautiful system. And when you have something as large scale as a state action that potentially can affect every individual municipality and or local government, the impact is going to be also very diverse, just as diverse as those systems that were built to meet the needs of the community. So it's an interesting process. I think we had talked about before, I've been with the University of Central Florida for the last 2 years working on my master's degree. And I'm like, wow, if this is not fodder for my master's degree, I don't know what is. Like,
right.
Aside from, so I've been with Indian River County for 26 and a half years ish, like whatever, a month or so, a long time to see change, to see things happen. We went through major hurricanes in 2004 and responded to that. We were not really prepared for that. Then in 2006, 7, 8, we started to enter into the Great Recession.
Yeah.
And then we went through COVID in 2019. So I've seen a lot of change in our organization, and I'm very aware of how my organization works. And so it's interesting to me to be in a position where this, I could say, is also an unprecedented situation for us and how we're going to respond to it, et cetera. And so, many parks and recreation conservation programs are funded through property tax. A lot of times capital is funded through optional sales tax, which is the case for us. So our capital, I can build it, but how do I staff it? Because the staffing relies on either a general fund or MSTU, which is, the unincorporated Indian River County residents are paying into the MSTU. And so those funding sources have been fairly stable since we recovered probably just before 2019. And then we hit a little bump in the road there with that situation, but there was a lot of federal aid and there were other things that were kind of backfilling the gap there. And we made it through that. And then we had further stabilized after 2019. So this is a big hiccup for us.
Yeah.
And there's correction measures that can take place, but this particular bill implements a homestead in 1 year and then an additional bump up in the homestead the second year, which I think makes it interesting because we also don't know what the impact will be until the property appraiser runs the numbers and values the properties, et cetera, and determines who's eligible for homestead and who's not. And there's a lot of components that are changing in that. And so, again, I go back to, wow, what an interesting problem to solve.
Yes.
We have to be the light on the path, and it's easy to get into a doom and gloom, like we're going to lose our funding, et cetera. There's a way through this, but it might not be without some pain. We some long nights, a lot of effort to restructure, because you're going to be. I think parks and recreation professionals are often building the system. So I've heard it as flying the airplane while we're designing it. But I love. We're running on a treadmill and trying to tie our shoes.
Oh, nice.
Right. And that's really what we're trying to do, but every day. And now we've got now somebody just bumped up the treadmill and both shoes are untied. So,
oh my goodness,
and not allowing that to become panic, but for it to become motivation to find solutions. I mean, that's to me, in my mind, that's my job. It's the job of our managers to be guiding their work group through that, because people are feeling the stress. Some people are very happy about the measure that's proposed and that's going to be on the tax bill, and relieved. This is going to solve some problems, because Florida has big problems. There's no doubt. I mean, people have their insurance rates increasing. We have catastrophic storms that we've never before experienced, like year after year after year. And so there's certainly relief that's needed and warranted. And that evaluation, can be done many different ways. So it's going to be I just think it's a really interesting time. And I think other professionals, don't take for granted the stable revenue sources that you have. Never take that for granted, because this really is based on the people's voice, and they can change their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, help me to understand the potential for this. So first of all, if you're running a Parks and Rec department, what average, and speaking in general terms, what's the average amount of revenue that a Parks and Rec department currently depends on just from property tax? Is this like half your revenue, 80% of your revenue? Do you have any, and again, just very general broad strokes?
All of our revenue. Every program, every facility, every division that I manage when it comes to operating, not
operations,
not your capital, but everything that I manage, which is 8 different divisions, including ocean rescue, 2 aquatics facilities, our fairgrounds, campgrounds, parks division, conservation lands division, IG center, which is an intergenerational community center, recreation center, our recreation programming, a shooting range. I think I got all my babies. Like I was herding cats. Every program that I currently have, every facility I currently have relies on general fund and MSTU. And there's revenue, yes, that comes in. And again, every county is different. We've never structured a revenue recovery system where that's been measured. We do obviously track it, but our county has spoken very clearly that this is an important service that they want. Our commissioners are very supportive of the services that we provide and the facilities that we have, to the point that we've expanded them over years. And revenue generation and recovery has not been considered as a factor for how we operate. Yeah. So shooting range is getting really close to full cost recovery, which is great because it's fully staffed. It's a big facility, and the fee structure is pretty healthy right now, and it's equitable because private shooting ranges across the country that people that are familiar with, they're willing to pay that dollar. But if you talk about an aquatics facility, and I love that you have your aquatics show, if you talk about an aquatics facility, I think that everybody understands and realizes that aquatics will always operate for the most part on a revenue loss. You're never going to have full cost recovery on that because it's just so expensive. But we balance that because swim lessons and water safety education is really important, as well as the recreational components, et cetera. So I think that, I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but it would be, with the exception of the shooting range, not very high in terms of our revenue recovery. So I'm gonna pull a number out of the sky somewhere between 10 and 20%, and that's probably 20% is pretty generous.
Yeah. And so the big things that are at risk, from what you're saying, is this is all your salaries for your staff, the programs that you run, the festivals, the special events, the upkeep and maintenance. So you'll still have a different bucket of money to build something, but then how do we maintain it? How do we staff it? How do we run the programs? That's what's at risk here, and that we have to kind of get creative with if this goes through. How do we fund those? How do we recover more of our costs? Did I kind of frame that out?
You did, absolutely.
Even close? Okay.
Yep. For us, a lot of our programs, for instance, boat ramps would be through boater improvement funds. Then we have park impact fees, which also are slowing, interestingly. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if this measure passes. It's actually going to change. It's going to change some things there as well. And then we have optional sales tax. So that's a voter approved tax that they put on. And
yeah. And that I used to live in Baton Rouge for probably about 20 years. And they have Breck Park over there. And Baton Rouge was notorious for saying no to any kind of tax increase that you would throw at them. But every time it would become a renewal for a sales tax measure for Breck Park, it would always get a yes from the community. So yes, they wanted lower taxes. They were trying to reduce their tax burden. But when it came to their parks, they were like, yes, we want this. We'll pay whatever we need to. And so I think, like you said, there is a healthy desire for your community to want to keep the park systems healthy and thriving. We just might have to find some other creative ways, like some other communities.
Yeah, and it's a different way to think, and it's a different way to approach how we manage and operate, because we've done the same thing for a very long time, because we have been very stable even during the recession. But our community has typically had a very high level of service expectation, and so adjusting expectations could be an interesting thing to do as a professional when you're showing up every day and you're talking to people. Why is the grass not cut? Or why are the park hours shorter? Or why is, Joe Schmo gone, who I used to see and talk to every day? All of those things. So I think it's going to be we'll manage it. It's not impossible, but I think that changing the expectations of our citizens of what we can accomplish with that impact and that hit, that's going to be very interesting, because I'm not sure that people are completely aware. I don't think people generally are aware of how Parks and Recreation operate. I don't think we still have issues with people understanding a county park versus a municipal or city park. And so something that they might choose to do, especially in response to, changing funding, then starts to transfer over to the county. And maybe we didn't make any changes. Maybe that wasn't our direction from our board or our administrator. And yet we know that from our Parks and Rec master plan, people are very unaware. And so one of the things that we've taken on over the last year is really to bring better awareness of our Parks and Recreation system. Who are we? I keep using this team PRC, because we needed to brand ourselves. We need to give ourselves identity so people can understand who we are, what we do, and how we impact their lives. Some people maybe are not using our services. We want them to use the services we provide. Other people just didn't know who we were. They're using the services every day, but they're very, confused. They don't have a lot of clarity around how is this aquatics facility funded? Who manages it? If I have a complaint, how do I report that to? Like very, really basic things. And so that's our job, is to be really good communicators with the community, train our staff, make sure that they have the answers prepared so that they can be educated when they're talking to our residents and our visitors of the community. So
yeah, and I think that communication is key. I mean, when I went on a ski trip earlier this year with all my old college buddies, and they were asking what I was doing with my life, and I was like, well, I'm helping to get the message out of what Parks and Rec, and that literally they thought that they just cut grass and that was it.
Yeah.
I was like,
recreation professionals play and parks people cut grass.
Right.
We used to say, we work so you can play.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, because we do it with a smile on our face, and we do it and we are having fun. I mean, it's hard not to have fun when you know that the thing you're doing or building or the program you're running is benefiting people's lives. Yes, there's such a return on investment for us personally. And so because we're not begrudgingly, doing the building permit or the whatever, DMV, like whatever, where you see people very grouchy, people are like, oh, you have the best job ever. And I was like, well, while I agree with you that I have the best job ever, it's not because it's easy. It's actually extremely difficult. And there's a lot to navigate, and there's a lot of complexity there. And it's also always a moving target. Your community is changing. Not even by decades, but now we're changing so fast. The way we work is changing. Like all these layers are impacted by this incredible life that we live in. Technology is changing things. Your different generations of people who work for you and who you serve is constantly changing. There's no day where things are just kind of stabilizing at all.
Yeah.
But it's not fixed. You can't fix it and forget it. It's a living, dynamic system. And I think, because of the ecology background, environmental science, all that, I think because of that, I have a really good appreciation for how deep it is. And I love to dive into it. I'm not at all, scared to jump in and try to see how things are connected. Yeah. And, that's something I think as a leader in our field, having that perspective is really important, because you have to come two problems with a lot of empathy and compassion, and you have to understand relationships, and then you have to understand people's different ages. And, it's just it's a beautiful profession, really.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, we blew past the halfway point. Let me go ahead and thank our show sponsors.
Okay.
Two of our great show sponsors. One of them does a lot of work in Florida. It's Outdoor Link. Dave Ramirez was with Hillsborough County for almost 30 years. And now he works with Outdoor Link, helping parks become smart parks. So if just like we have these smart cities and smart homes, imagine if your whole park infrastructure was tied to the internet, to where you could control your bathroom door locks, your splash pads, your security lights, your ball field lights. This is the work they're doing across the country. They've been one of our early sponsors since the beginning. But then I'd also like to thank the National Academy of Athletics, who also helps Parks and Rec departments run the programs that they maybe aren't staffed up to run. So they'll turnkey, providing the coaching, the staff, the programming, everything for, say, just pickleball or like football or something, and maybe you're good at some of the others. They'll even run your summer camp and after school care, and they're doing this also across the country. So let's go ahead and roll the promo for those two great sponsors, and we'll come right back and continue our conversation with Beth.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
They say it's just rec. Just rec, where kids learn to try again. Just rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs. We're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
Yeah, I also wanted to give a big shout out to Pros Consulting. I know they have worked with y'all and Carlos as well. And tomorrow morning, we're doing a special episode just on taxes and revenue and all that kind of stuff. So it was just perfect timing that Beth is also passionate about this and is right in the middle of it. Yeah. And so one of the things that Carlos, when we were preparing for our show tomorrow, he highlighted what went on in New York when the state of New York went bankrupt, and they basically lost all of their budget just almost overnight. And it's amazing. The community came together across New York, and the citizens and the surrounding homes cut the grass for their local park and weed eated and cleaned up until they could get back on their feet. And it just goes to highlight how valuable Parks and Rec are to the community. They're willing to literally pitch in and cut the grass for free. And so
Definitely some options that I'm considering at the moment.
right. So I guess that's a strong message to all the Parks and Rec professionals that might be just doom and gloom and stuff. Just remember, y'all have been serving your community for many communities over 100 years, and they have come to depend on it and love the work that y'all are doing. So y'all are not facing this problem alone. I think once you just raise your hand and ask for help, I think the community is really going to surprise you at how much they really love the work that y'all are doing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, we do that in small ways too already. So we're always looking to maximize that and stretch that dollar. We use Adopt-A-Parks, and a lot of people are like, oh, I love the Adopt-A-Park. It really helps us out. It reduces the cost to maintain a park facility when you have regular people coming in. They're, and we quantify that in our budgets. We put dollar figures to it. Well, it doesn't matter if you're 7 years old or you're 77 years old. You're getting, a dollar amount in our budget to where we're saying this is a direct cost that's offset because people are performing a service in the different park systems. So we may have to get a little more creative on that dollar, just a tiny bit.
Right.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I wish Dave Ramirez was on here. He was in charge of volunteers for Hillsborough County, and he said, Craig, we put a dollar figure on the volunteer hours that were dedicated each year, and it was like $2 million a year worth of volunteer labor that helped do everything that we do.
Yeah, easily. And we're going to have to get a little more creative, not just potentially on our volunteers. That's definitely a smart thing to do. And we did invest in a volunteer and kind of a volunteer coordinator this year. So that was something that and that investment is really paying off because we have a dedicated person to coordinate all of our volunteer activities. So that one person, if you think about it, that one person's doing the job of now, 20 people are doing a job and we're funding one person. So volunteer coordinators are really important. And then, we may be looking at other ways that the community can support some of those cost saving solutions that we will implement. Yeah.
So what are the other, let's maybe brainstorm, what are the other creative ideas that now are rolling around probably in everybody's head of different ways that they can kind of survive this storm?
Oh, well, I may not say a lot. I may not knock that hornet's nest over just yet.
Right.
But I think, generally speaking, if you're talking to Parks and Recreation professionals across at least our state, because we attend the Florida Recreation Parks Association annual conference every year, and just as diverse as all the different counties and municipalities are, I find the same is true for all of our Parks and Recreation organizations. Everybody has responded to their community. They're built and structured. So one of the things that certainly I think we should always be doing is looking at our revenue, looking at what is the cost to run a program, what's the benefit. Maybe you're pulling some of those programs that have a low return, not on the financial end, but maybe your participation is not as high. Mm-hmm. So you start with those kind of what people might call the low hanging fruit. I don't like to call it that, but you start with the easier things first, and you start to see how much you can kind of trim maybe. Mm-hmm. Then you can look at partnerships. That's certainly one way. Technology is another where you can look at how does this technology benefit us? How do we shave direct costs off? If we have a one-time investment, how can we shave? And I know other counties are doing that, the remote mowers and field groomers, things like that, stripers, on your athletic fields, or something as simple as, okay, if you rent our field, we're going to leave you the equipment necessary to line the field, but you are now going to have to line the field. So I think you start very practically. I mean, everything we do is very practical, and you start looking at how much can you trim back, how much can you expand the volunteer effort, maybe where can you get community partnerships or sponsorships. We've had some really great sponsors step up in the last couple of years, and we return for them advertising, et cetera. So that's another thing we can do. We put out, I think we print around 11,000 program guides twice a year. So 22,000 of these are sitting in everybody's, elementary school. They go to every elementary school child in our school district. Mm-hmm. As well as lots of other locations. So I think there's a lot for us right now. I think the opportunity just requires that effort. And I think a lot of it's doable. I don't know, at some point, if you get a gash too deep, it won't heal on its own.
Yeah.
That's just medically speaking. A scratch and you put a Band-Aid on it, some Neosporin. And I feel like we're kind of, maybe at the deep scratch stage
Right.
where it's like, well, I think, we can bandage that up. And then you need stitches. And then the next stage is, you need a full leg amputation. I don't know. I'm not going to get down too far. You do have to take things one day at a time, because this is not something that's been decided. We have not heard from the voters yet. And at the same time, you have to prepare as if it's going to move. And that's the advice that has been given, is prepare as if this is going to pass, so that you're ready. And then if it doesn't pass, I think there's still room for us to always be figuring out better efficiencies, because there's a responsibility there. We're not private companies. We are holding and entrusted with a public dollar. And again, your lifeguard sitting on the stand scrolling their phone, they're not thinking about that way. But I really think that from a leadership standpoint, you've got to drive that message all the way down through your workforce. People really have to understand that they too are stewards of that public dollar, 100%. Whether you're a lifeguard, you're a maintenance worker, you're a part-time budgeted employee in some form or fashion, you have to understand that you're operating on that public dollar, and it's given to us with trust.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And, even if this doesn't pass, this will probably be the greatest exercise in feasibility studies that the state could go through.
Yeah, a lot of counties are preparing, in different ways. And so I think it's opening, it's kind of like cracking the walnut open, because we have to get creative. And I think regardless, some good things will come out of that. If I can take that dollar and turn it into two, then we all win, even if I still have the dollar. Now, if the dollar goes to 50 cents, but the math still works one way or the other. The math will be there. So.
Yeah, because either way, since the beginning of Parks and Rec, there's always more that you want to do for the community than you can afford to do, and that you have the manpower to do. So that's been ever present, really, from day one. Mm-hmm. So anytime you can, like you said, stretch those dollars, find efficiency gains. And like you said, there's a lot of efficiency gains coming from robotics and AI and software. And I mean, they're coming. But like you said, this could be like a broken leg that you can't just rub dirt on and get back in the game.
Yeah, some of us might try, but I think probably not good advice.
Right. One thing Carlo and Leon said is the word of the day is private partnerships, and they kept coming back to that how a lot of communities have already started to reach out to their local hospitals, like these big employers that all their employees are sitting in your community using all your services, and that want to see a thriving, healthy community because this is their employee base. And whether it's like a big industrial plant or maybe some of these data centers and AI centers that are desperately looking for good PR at this point.
Yeah.
And maybe speak about how important private partnerships are today, with or without this passing, and maybe how important they're going to be in the future.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And, Indian River County back during the recession and even prior to that had been very strong with the private public partnerships. Mm-hmm. So we have an entire lacrosse program as well as a soccer program that's run entirely through partnerships. And then we have some others too, but those are our two biggest models that I have in, top of my head. And they've been extremely successful. So remember when I was talking about, we have the optional sales tax that won't be impacted by the property tax, for instance. So the optional sales tax is going to be the building dollar to build a field or put up lights, or, if you get something at the end of its lifespan to replace it or expand something. So it has some very specific things. You can't make something better, basically. It has to be an expansion of services. But through that type of public-private partnership, the dollar we had in terms of being able to build a field, then through an agreement, they run the program. And I've seen that done very successfully in our county. And I think it's something a lot of counties could look toward, and it might feel uncomfortable and it might feel new. And you really have to start at the top. You got to start with your administrator or your mayor, whoever is the leader of your organization, and you've got to pass that through your commission or whoever your governing body is, you've got to make sure that they're buying into this concept.
Yeah.
Don't throw that out there brand new, because anything that's new requires a lot of consideration for that kind of trickle out effect, or the ripple effect, if you will. But I think that there's lots of different organizations who have done it and done it well. The same is true for contracting. We've done different things where we've tried different things, contracting out services, and some people do that very successfully. We've not had super great experience with that for some things, and we do for others. But I've seen other organizations do it really, really well. So whether it's a public-private partnership, or it's looking at, okay, what services are we providing? Can those services be provided in a different way, by someone else, by a third party, et cetera? And everybody is going to be different. So I think you can look to other organizations for ideas, but really hone in on what your problem is, and then start attempting to find what the solutions are for you, for your community. Because, there maybe that organization that is offering that private partnership is not well received in the community. You're dealing with the community. They better be well received. And that was our situation. It's been really great. We've had good success with that. And we're talking about a partnership for those two organizations. My son played in I don't remember what they call it for the very first time soccer players. My son played in there, and he's 25 years old now. So that partnership's been in place. It's still running for the soccer. Lacrosse is a little bit younger, but not by much. So we're talking about getting into 2 decades worth of service provided. So.
Yeah. Well, I have a great case study that comes out of Brownsville, Texas. I think they have an amazing model. And so Sean's only been there for 2 years. He's the director. And he was looking at a lot of this massive deferred maintenance. And he was going to have to hire all these welding and electrician and plumbing contractors to come fix a lot of these just basic break and fix problems. And he approached his staff and he said, is anyone interested in learning how to weld and become like a master welder, a master electrician? And if you have any volunteers, we'll train you so that, you may just be a grass cutter or kind of a handyman. And now all of a sudden you're a certified welder. Then he created these partnerships with the local VOTEC school and universities to help train the staff. They actually donated the tuition because they knew it was going for the city. And now they're just chewing through this in-house. They don't have to go through the work order process and the bid process. And they just had to buy like a little welding machine. And he said, Craig, we haven't had to ask for any increased funding, because now we have the skill on our regular staff to do this in-house, and the training is being donated by the local schools. And I was like, Sean, this is a great model. We need to get this out to the rest of the country, because everybody's facing these deferred maintenance issues.
Yeah, we went through that a couple of years ago. We set out a 5-year deferred maintenance schedule, and you're looking at every opportunity, every solution you can think of to get the work done on usually not a whole lot of money. It was like more of a schedule, like a goal. We have these goals. We want to accomplish these things, but because it's maintenance, again, same thing for us. Our optional sales tax can't be used for maintenance. And so if you were replacing something, you had the luxury of being able to use the optional sales tax for that. But if it was truly just a maintenance item, you have to really diversify your skill sets. And I encourage all of our employees to do that. Like, what training do you need? What training do you want? Like, really invest in those employees, and then find, again, so thinking more creatively, not about just the outside agency providing the service, but can they provide the training? Can they provide maybe the infrastructure you need or the equipment you need, whether it's a friends group or something like that. There's lots of different models there, and you really get to be creative in how you cobble together solutions that work for you. And I love those examples are so inspiring, and they get you thinking differently about how you're going to, how am I going to solve this problem? So it's really great to share. Everybody, sharing their stories is really important.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to save a little bit of our show for your ecology and wildlife background. So maybe why don't you talk a little bit about that and how that plays a role in your Parks and Rec career?
Well, for FRPA this year, our whole career mapping is like our emphasis. So it's the field of possibilities is the theme. And I've been really engaged with our pods group. So it's younger, it's pairing up leadership with younger individuals who maybe are new in the field. And I think that, my story is not by any means unique, period, but it is a unique story and an evolution of coming into the county as the county's first conservation lands manager with brand new properties that we had bought under our first environmental lands bond referendum. And they weren't quite sure where to stick this person. And so I think they looked around and they're like, who has mowers and what people know green things? And so I got, fortunately, I'm really grateful for it, plunked into the parks maintenance division as a manager, and spent many, many years pretty much by myself, just managing all of these environmentally sensitive lands. We did a second bond referendum, and then now we're actually on our third bond referendum. But I feel like I grew up in parks because as a professional, I had all of that experience and the ecology background, but I didn't necessarily, I'm a Tennessee native. So when I moved to Florida, I didn't know palm trees. I didn't know the plants and animals. The ecology is the same. The concepts are the same, but I really had to lean on my parks team to help educate me about everything from, all the plants and the different wildlife species and things like that, and do a lot of self-learning myself as well. But so that background is kind of, a great background because you learn the system and then you learn that partnership with the park staff. And then we've molded those together so that what we do has conservation emphasis, and our parks maintenance team doesn't just think about ball fields and pathways and fields and park space. They're now thinking about what can we do to enhance those areas and enhance it also for wildlife or other passive recreation opportunities. So that's been a lot of fun and just a unique way. But I think people looking at their career, thinking about really living in that stage you're in, understand it. My best athletics folks are people who grew up as recreation leaders. They've run leagues, they've done summer camps, they've done all of these things, and now they're in leadership positions. They really understand and they can speak to it. So I love that too. And also about our profession is that you can there's such great opportunity to ladder up. That opportunity is just kind of like waiting for you to ladder up, just what you were saying about learning to weld. What an opportunity to ladder up in the organization and into something that you love and you're passionate about. So my passion will always probably be ecology, but I really see the leadership aspects as being very, very similar in so many different ways.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. And all right, so we have a little tradition at the end of our show. One of my previous guests left you a question. Some of these are fun questions, some are serious, but this one comes from Sean over in Brownsville, Texas. Okay. His question is, if you were an animal, what would it be and why?
Oh, I'm so glad I had a precursor to this in a previous discussion with someone, and they asked that question, and it really was just an organic answer because it wasn't something I was prepared for, but I said an octopus. And in this particular stage of my life, I think that, what I love about the octopus is they're underrated. People don't really give them all the credit that they deserve in terms of extremely intelligent. They're very agile. They're extremely strong. They have 8, arms. So I feel that, many plates spinning. They can adapt to their environment. They can camouflage themselves. They have a lot of control over their, being in terms of being able to manipulate color and to move and to defend themselves. And so it's an octopus today.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, so what question would you like to leave for my next guest?
Oh, boy. Let's see. What's the most challenging hill you've climbed, experience you've had in your profession?
What is the most challenging hill I'm curious, what would be your answer to this one?
Let's see. My most challenging hill. So we 3 years ago, when I was moved into this position, we were a brand new organization in terms of our department. We had all been little isolated silos. And my first task was to gather all the silos and bring people together. So organizationally, operationally, we had to adapt quickly. We had to build. That's where the tying your shoes with running on the treadmill came from, because that's what it felt like. We had to really reinvent ourselves. We had to brand ourselves. But the most fun and also challenging aspect of that is bringing people together who had never really worked together and create a unified team. And I'm really, really so very proud of our team for being able to change. We're 3 years into this, and they did a remarkable job. And they just, I'm the one leading the charge in some ways, and making a fool of myself sometimes, building marshmallow spaghetti things. But I just had to throw myself into it. And it absolutely was the most challenging. And it wasn't without some wounds along the way. I mean, we lost people that had been dedicated to our organization for a really long time, but because of the change that had happened and occurred, we just had to do it. So number one, that's the most challenging thing I've done in my career.
Yes. Well, Beth, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing with us everything that's going over there in Vero Beach and Indiana River County. Really appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank your whole staff for all the work they're doing and making their community thriving and beautiful, and all the stuff that they do. It doesn't go unnoticed, and I really appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me on the show, and happy Parks and Recreation Month.
Oh, that's it. Happy Parks and Recreation, 41 years strong.
Right.
Thanks a lot, Beth. Have a great day. Bye-bye. All right. So, wow, another great show. So tomorrow we're having a special edition with Leon Younger and Carlos over there with Pros Consulting to talk a lot about the similar topic about the tax issues and funding and cost recovery. I think that's a topic we just sometimes avoid in Parks and Rec, but we need to do it. We need to get smart. We need to get those business minds, the business hat on, and figure out how we're going to create strong budgets so that we can do the great work that Parks and Rec does. All right. So stay tuned. Up next, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Thomas White helping to produce The Rec Room with Henry County, Georgia. That's going to be starting here in about 30 minutes. Again, this is Craig LeBlanc signing off with the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. Love you guys. Happy 4th of July. Happy Parks and Rec Month. We'll see y'all here again tomorrow. Thanks a lot, guys. Love y'all. Bye.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, We position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention.